This is it's a fish market, and what they do is real early in the morning they bring the fish in here. You can find a lot more things besides that, but these are shacks, and what they've done is they've taken anything that they could pick up that will turn rain, tin, soda pop cans that they all flatten out, and they come in here real early in the morning and they put their fish out and they stay out till after lunch. Gets about 110, 100 degrees there. My compound's about 2 blocks from this, and when the wind blows right, we could smell the smell here. It stinks terrible. And you notice most of the people that are there are riding a motorcycle, or they're put together, something falls off, they take a piece of baling wire or wire and put it back on. But this is a very typical place. The women have the funny hats on, they're round, so you can always tell the women from the men at this place. Okay. This is what we call a South Vietnamese policeman. He is riding, and this is the way you have to ride in Vietnam. If you don't ride side saddle, you're subject to be shot. They throw satchel bombs, and so around Saigon, my old papa son will blow his whistle, and boy, if you don't get side saddle, he'll open up with about a 12 gauge sawed off. Okay? Okay. This is one of the houses there. Notice the fence. If you have a nice little house, and this is an upper crust house, if you have one, you must have security. Anything not tied down, it disappears. And this is a taxi. They have over the back, most of this is just made out of tin. I hit one, he run up and stopped, and I hit him with the Jeep and went out and was going to pull the back fender out. I pulled it off. And so 500 piastres is what it cost me for him to drive off. Okay. This is across from where I had my hotel, and it's just where you had bunkers. Okay. This is the back of a Vietnamese temple during the Tet of '68. The VC, they finally congregated them into about a block or two there in Saigon, and we just bombed the fire out of it. And if you can notice the land, the dirt out there, it's just like flour. It just shifts through your hands. And we gave them money to rebuild this because we blew it up. Okay. Streets of Saigon. Notice the particular girl there. This is typical dress for a female. If they've got on white pants instead of the black there, it means they're going to work. Black is their work clothes. The white means that they work in a pretty highfalutin place. You've got your two Sickolos in the back. One of them is gas powered, and the other one is a guy will ride it. And I'll tell you, they take you all over Saigon, and his legs are huge because they pedal them all the time. Okay. This is just a shot, and we're going across the river there. Kids swim in this water there, and they also have sewers that go into it, and we used to flip coins into the river, and they'll dive down at the bottom and pick them up. Okay. Again, another street here of, notice the kids, their shoes, the whole works. Okay. Another shot of people just going by. This had some significance, and right offhand I can't remember. I believe it was up next to where the park was, and it's just a residence for kind of maybe for orphans. I'm just not really sure. This is one of the things that's very unique here. The people outside of Saigon would get up about 4 o'clock in the morning, and they would butcher like a hog, and the whole village would have one of these old trucks, and they would put the hog, after they butchered it and cleaned it and everything, then they would put them in the back of these trucks and they would bring them to town. And most of these trucks do not have brakes. There's a form of brake. So you bring a bunch of people along with you and they jump out and catch the truck or help stop the truck. They take those, back them up to where they're going to sell the meat from. That's on the sidewalk. They take the hogs or whatever they're selling, pull them out, throw them down on the sidewalk. After you get there, you tell, I want the hindquarters, this much. And they'll take their hands and run across many times those hogs and get the flies off of them, cut that out, take some American newspapers that's been thrown in the garbage and wrap them up and give them to the people and they'll take it off. Okay? A shot across Saigon. Now this is Ho Chi Minh City now, but this was Saigon when I was there, showing you some of the buildings that the Americans, the French actually built some of these buildings first. And of course, you know, the Vietnamese run them out. And so the Americans took them over. And this is, show you how the sanitary, this is, it's got raw sewage going into this. And look how close these people have built to this. The back room, on the very back of it, is their modern toilet back there, and it's a hole cut in the ground that falls into the river. Another shot here, this lady has come probably from outside of Saigon. She's brought in, and this is a walking McDonald's, whatever she's selling there. And what they would do is they will take, they'll put it down, they have a little bowl. And you say, I want a bowl full of your spaghetti. It looked like spaghetti to me, but it wasn't. And they would take, and they'll take their hands down in there, and they'll pick it up till they get the right amount, put it in the bowl, give it to you with your 2 chopsticks. You eat it, take the bowl back with the chopsticks. She has a little pan of water, and she passes it through the water and sets it up for the next person. And in the background, you see the 2 horses with pulling the particular wagon. We would call that a hearse today. They're getting ready, somebody's died, and they take those things. They will have professional people that'll walk behind them and cry and pass out, and you pick them up, walk down the road a little bit, and then they'll start crying and pass out again. The thing behind them that looks like a little cart, that's what we as Americans had to ride in. You didn't ride in something you couldn't get out of fast. We really didn't want to ride in that, because what they would do is they'd drive up there in their little cycles and drop a grenade in there, and you had to get out. And by the way, there's 2 guys there that's in the service, because that one in the back is not riding side saddles, so they must be with the local police or something, because that's illegal. Okay? Believe this is the American Embassy. This is just a shot of it. By the way, it got shot to pieces in the Tet offensive, and they were trying to restore a lot of it. Okay. Here again, this is another shot of their unloading stuff to sell. I thought it was unique that an American was squatted down there taking pictures of them, because a lot of times when they're unloading, you could buy pure heroin there, a tablespoonful of it for $10 American money. And it was uncut, pure as could be. I mean, it could give you the awfulest buzz. Those Americans, I had a friend that went crazy on it. Okay. Street, this is when, look how the cobblestone, what they did is they had a big riot. They tell me they was walking down through there, and they run out here and dug up that the stone there and threw it at each other. And boy, when they have a riot over there, you kill. I mean, it was just, you just don't go down the street and they shoot rubber bullets at you. If anybody's got a regular rifle, they start shooting. Okay. Show you again the gate. Okay. This is one that a friend of mine gave me that come in from the boondocks. And this, of course, is an American soldier. And here is a Vietnamese child or young person. And this is his tractor he's pulling behind him. This is what they plow with. Okay. When the French was kicked out of Vietnam, this is a cemetery where there's a lot of Americans, or not as many Americans, but as French people are buried out here. And if you'll notice on that left-hand front right there, the tombstone is down, it's gone. There's a little white thing sticking up. They had a big fight out there, and they shot holes in those things, shot them apart, threw grenades at each other, and these are some of the headstones that has not been replaced yet. Again, fascinating to me that they have such a place that has so many people, and probably the parents never know that they're, they've got a buried person there. Okay. Here's one of our Jeeps. This is my street. This is Trahungao. This is where my hotel is just back. We've passed it. This is one of the Jeeps that we use to get to and from work. But if you'll notice, the bottom of across the street, that's businesses. The second floor is living. You have your motorbikes. At night, you run them inside. You don't leave them out on the streets. We left our vehicles out close to the street, or if you parked on the street there, and the next morning you checked it because there'd be a bomb under it most of the times. Just again, another shot there. This is some of the, down on the river there. Like I said, it was muddy, but this is one of the boats that they use to go up and down the river. It's very typical. They're probably going out to fish because they'll eat the fish right out of that river. Okay. This is one of the entrances to where we stayed. This, you see the guard huts there in the back. Old Papa's son would sit there, and he was an ARVN, a South Vietnamese Army personnel that had been shot or had been wounded or had shrapnel in him, and his job is to keep the people moving. You see the little motorbike there, the woman sitting side saddle. If they went by our compound and they weren't doing like that, he would blow a whistle. He has 2 shotguns back there. One of them is full of salt. The other one has got double alt buckshot in it. And if you're a Vietnamese and he blows the whistle, and if you don't move on or get right, he doesn't ask questions. He just opens up. He just shoots them. While I was there, I saw 2 men, and he cut them in half when he wouldn't do it. Americans drive up there and park wrong, and he whistles at them, and they won't move. They get a buckshot full of, or they're shot with the salt. They'll put the vehicle, they'll hit it with salt, and then you'll move then. Okay. Here again, just showing you, boy, they are so conscious of being safe that they have these places around their houses that they, at night, boy, and they'll have people walking around with guns. And again, they don't ask questions. I mean, they shoot first and ask questions later. Okay. This is a shrine as you're entering into the little park they had there. They've got a couple of their kings and queens buried in here. But I want you to notice the Chinese influence at the corner of these places, how they turn up. A lot of times they'll have these wind chimes there. And this is what, I thought it was unique. Never seen anything like that before. Oh, going across the bridge. Oh, and every one of these houses that's right on the river here has modern conveniences for the bathroom. It's over the river, and through the woods into Grandma's house. This is, of course, had been hit. They had a rocket come in. They told me that had blown up around here, and this is the way the place looked. By the way, it is inhabited too. Over there, you have Mama's son, Papa's son, Grandma's son, 3 or 4 kids and their wives and children. One of the people who worked in my office with me, she had 12 people that lived in a little hut that was made out of beer can houses. They took beer cans, cut them up, and nailed them on the side to keep the water from coming in. This going to the American Embassy. This is the street going down through there, and it was blocked off. They had a few little spit and spews, and you couldn't get down there. They all had the Americans carried machine guns. They didn't piddle around with the double alts. They had machine guns. Okay. Shot across Saigon, going out into the outer ring. At any night that I wanted to see how the war was progressing, I could go up to the top of where I was billeted. I was in a old French hotel. And every night you could go out there and you could see the Cobras flying across here, and you could see the tracers coming up where the VC would be shooting at them, and then you could see those Cobras all of a sudden turn loose, and man, those things packed a punch. You could hear them blowing up. They would shoot the rockets, and it was their machine guns was just going full blast. But I didn't go up there very often. Here's another shot, same thing. This is turned in towards the city, and you can see land premium you built up in the air. Okay. This is, I think it was an old hotel and been turned into no-tell. But look at the thing here is look at the people and look at the old taxis. With the Americans there, anything they could get out of you, they'd take you wherever you wanted to go. What it was, 275, wasn't it, Nan? Something like that, piastres to the American dollar. We could not have greenbacks over there. We had to have MPC, military police money. And so I'd always have 500 piastres in my pocket, and then I would have change, 2,500 in my pocket. And so he would start out 1,000 piastres to go wherever. And I'd wave a 500 in his face. Okay, I'll do it. So here's a nice place. Down this street, I'm standing in the street, and they've cleaned off. There's been a bombing, and all this is cleaned off. So these people come, and this would be like going to an open bazaar or wherever, where they put everything they want to sell out there, and it goes down through there. You can buy anything in here. I'm serious. You could buy a death in there if you wanted to. You could go say, I want Joe killed because he stepped on my toe. You go down here and keep asking questions, and somebody would go do it for you. You can buy drugs. You can buy women. A woman over there, a Vietnamese girl, went for a Sonya radio, 2/5 of Jim Beam, and anything else that they could get out of you. And if you felt bad about it, you'd go to Booth's Temple, and they'd give you a piece of paper that said you owned her, and you owned her. Okay. This is one of their statues that they have out in the middle of the road, or in the road at the time I was there, and it had something to do with one of their generals or something. It was kind of like Easter in our culture, and I never could figure this one out. I just took the picture for the fun of it. There's the cemetery again. Another shot down the street. The street itself had a very unique law. Whoever was the biggest and the baddest had the right of way. And so I know in the old truck that we had, I drove it for a while. It was a ton Dodge truck. Loose at the manifold up at the engine, and it sounded like an airplane. And so I'd rib that thing up, and anybody got in my way, I would really rib it up, and they would run over. I've run bicycles often up on the sidewalk when I wanted through there real bad. Okay. Notice this is steak. One of their things that they eat over there that I just never could understand was they ate dog. Any way you could fix it, this represents steak. We had a mutt that come to our compound, and we fed it. And every time we'd go to eat, we'd bring something back for that mutt, and boy, he got fat and disappeared one day. And so I went looking for him, and finally one of the girls that worked in our compound told me that I could go buy him across the street in a sandwich. He'd walked off out there, and they'd got him, and they butchered him. This is kind of like, they sell things here, and if I'm not mistaken, on the left here you can see that it's belts. My billfold that I took over, stuff started growing on it. So I had to buy a new billfold made out of elephant hide because it is so wet over there. When the monsoon hits, you're wet. It just pours down on you, and then you wait 10 minutes because the sun comes out and you're dry. And across the road they sell, there's no telling what you could find in there. You could find televisions, radios, a lot of things. And I see we've got a girl there on the right that is probably married to or living with an American because of the dress she's wearing. You could pick out people that lived with the Americans very easily. Okay? This is a very unique place right here. This is the dump. All of our garbage when we finished eating, all of our garbage was thrown in the back and taken out to a dump like this. And you see these these boys sitting here on their motorbike. They're waiting when they leave, and they'll take what I would call a hay hook, and they'll go out there and they'll start digging through that for food. Now, I didn't believe it, and so I stood there and watched one time, and this boy picked up a piece of bread and squeezed all the juices out of it and put it in his pocket. It was a purse-like thing he was carrying to eat later on. I've seen banana peelings out of there, you name it, comes out. Anything they can eat, they pick them out of there, or anything they can sell. That shows you the bullet holes I was talking about previously in the tombstone when they had the fight out there. He is laying by the Buddhist temple. These boys were throwing things at him. You can see the stuff laying around. Apparently he was high on some drug because he was seeing things, and dragons was after him, and I don't know what all. But if you'll notice in the top of the picture, there is one of those hearses that I was telling you about. This place is where I worked. I walked out the door at the back of my place. This particular individual, she works for us. Notice the white pants. The Jeep there is one of our officers used. The place in the very back is where we had the gymnasium, and that's where I had the big affair for Christmas back there. Okay. This was one of the guys who worked with me. I don't remember. I think he come from Chicago, and he worked across from me. Really enjoyed the service. He told me one time, he said, "I don't understand you, Hall." He said, "Man, I've got 3 meals a day, and I've got a bed." And he said, "I'm making a career out of it." And I told him, fine. And here again, another shot of the fish market. Okay. I took this one to show you. This is one of the cleaning ladies of this particular place, and she had just come out and put all of her stuff away, and she'd come out to go home. And by the way, she's well-to-do, or she wouldn't have that. And here's one of the sickle. Look at the pollution coming out of the back of it. Here's one of the boats coming in, it's loaded with bananas. You notice on the lower side, there's a guy buying bananas, and he's buying the whole, he'll get as many as he wants. But look at the water. You could almost walk on it. We're on the bus now, and I'm going down towards the center of the city, and you'll notice they've got the buildings here. A lot of them are closed or nailed up because they'd had a big fight down in here. Here is one of the things, this particular one, I didn't take this. We had another compound that was part of our compound, and it was called the 80th Rebuild Depot, and they would go out and get anything that the VC had blown up, our tanks, our personnel carriers, and then they'd drag them back into the 80th Rebuild Depot and rebuild them, showing the Vietnamese how to do it. And this is some of the rebuilt parts. These things, probably everybody in these have been killed. And so, again, this is going to the downtown area. There's, again, just pick out the people and look at them, because you've got everything in Vietnam walking there. This, they've got meat hanging up in this particular plate. I saw it was unique because they'd finally got it off the sidewalk where people walk and put it up in the air so the flies can fly up there. This is, again, one of the sampans, I believe they called them, is going upstream. Okay, this is inside the Buddhist temple. Each Buddhist temple has a different follower. And what you do when you go in the temple, and I've got different shots, but after you finish and you're getting ready to leave, you take a little piece of paper that you get in there, you take it out, and he tells the fortune. You go out, you pay him, and he'll say, you don't need to marry this person, or you're going to have a bad day, or, Christmas is going to be bad for you. And that's his job. He's like a shaman, or these different soothsayers. But whatever he says, boy, they will. That's it. I mean, that's it for the day. Right down the street, you can see our deuce and a half is sitting there, and we generally didn't park it on the streets because we were afraid. And okay. This is a show. I was going to go to it, one of them. One of our translators, I had asked her, I said, one of these days I'd like for you to take me to down to one of the show buildings, and I'd like to see it. And you can tell me what's going on, because it's all, that sing-song. I couldn't understand very few words that I knew. I knew all the cuss words because they used them at me, but I didn't know hardly a lot of the rest of them. A group of like Boy Scouts. This is a group that goes to school. Going to school over there is a privilege. Most of them don't go. And they had come down to the park area, and I thought it was so unique because it was yes sir, no sir, and I mean very, very polite. Another shot down that place that I told you was where they all go and you could buy anything down through there. Another shot of the places that's built on the river. This is going through our gate into our building, and we're supposed to have, originally when I got there, they had Papa Son stood out here, but they got where he didn't stand out here, and the two gates they finally took down. By the way, on the left of that, you couldn't get out in there. If you go to the left out there, just off my picture, it's mined. And what they did is, since Mama's son would go out there and pull all the grass up, she couldn't tell where the mines were, so they built a mound over the mines, and anybody could see where the mines were now. And we were secure. This is one of the Catholic churches, I believe. This is a compound where they had little rooms, and people just would stay in there. I thought, man, they would have a 10 by 10 maybe, or a 14 by 14 little room, and there'd be 15 people in there. This again's down Tri-Hun Gal. Notice KEM. He's your local McDonald's. He's selling stuff. Okay. Another shot of the river and their modern convenience. This is one of the nicer places. We had certain places that we could go and buy things and eat, and this was one of them until I saw the little girl holding the dog up, and I never went back. I just couldn't stand the idea that I could have a dog in my food there. But this is a nice little shot here. These things, they'd run them up and down the river, and this is what a lot of times if you saw like our PT boats, if they got close, they might throw something over and blow you up. So we kept a distance from them. Down the streets again. across the from the top of the roof here. You can just see the modern versus the not so modern where it had been blown up. The rebuilding here, this place again they'd had a big fight there. A beautiful little place here. I bought some of these dolls. They're little dolls. They're Vietnamese dolls, and they sell different type of cloth. I know I sent home. I bought pure silk over there, and I don't remember how many yards I got of it, but I mailed it home. And Nan made a pants, or her and my mother made a pantsuit out of it. And I think if I can remember right, American money, I gave $2 for every bit of that silk. He's taking his morning bath. This is very typical of the people who roam the streets there in Vietnam. He is wearing, that is the shorts he's got on. Most of them had on GI undershorts is what they wore. And he was very fortunate because he would sit there and this is his bath. This is how he cleaned up. He brushed his teeth the same way. This is back another shot of that place where they had so many people. This, of course, is the American Embassy, and this particular shot was not one of mine. This was a friend of mine gave it to me as he was in a helicopter, and this is where they landed on the roof when we pulled out, and they had so many people trying to get on the helicopters to come out, the Vietnamese, and they blocked off, all around the embassy. You couldn't, nobody could get in or out unless you was an American, and then the MPs, and the last helicopter that left, they said, with the top of this place was covered with Vietnamese trying to get on the helicopter. There's another shot of the blown up place. We're waiting to board the bus to our little ride back to McV. We had to go all the way across the Cholon district to get to where we worked. And another shot of the boats they had there. Used very typical boats that they used there. I never got in one. That cemetery again. Here's the helicopter coming over. There we go. They'll show you how dirty that water was. I always made a joke about it. You could walk on it just about. This, of course, is another place that had been cleared off after they'd had a big battle. It happened before I got there, but they still yet have a lot of people will camp out there at night. This place right here was very, very unique. You notice the roof up there and stuff is off of it. They don't allow you to get close to anything they have, and so they've got somebody that's inside of the house watching this because people steal it. I mean, it's open season. Another shot across Vietnam, the city. This is another one of those recon vessels we had over there at the 80th Rebuild Depot. This will show you the different shotguns. Papa Son would use that one in the top. The others were just kind of, they were there, but people didn't use them because you wanted something short and powerful. So if you were out, let's say on recon, whoever was out in front generally had one. It was a pump. And they would have it as short as they could get it because it'd throw out a bigger pattern when you would fire it. And this is down one of the side streets there. This is a bad place here. When it got dark, you didn't go down through these places because you could get stabbed for your boots on your feet. They would steal. I mean, they was hungry all the time, and so they would stick a knife in you just for your billfold. And my watch, I could not have one that I had to have it where you had to tie it on you or strap it on you because they'd walk up and just push it straight down, break it, and run off with it. This is another one that was given to me. This is out on one of the patrols. They're looking for mines, and you can see where they've dug up some of them there. This 45, this is what the officers carried. I had access to one when I was on mail carrier duty, but I never fired the thing. Another one that's 80th Rebuild. She was very unique. She lived just up above where I was billixed, and every day I'd go by and she'd speak to me and we would talk. They like to talk to the Americans because we talk funny, and I'd like for them to talk to me because they talk funny. And she would sell whatever she could there, and she lived up the alley. You can see the door right there, the alley. She lived up in there's where her and her family lived. Of course, this is one of the weapons they had over there with the bayonet on it. Again, I never played with those very much. This is one of the vehicles they used to go out and when they would have something blown up, bring it back in. Of course, there's the thing that if we ever were attacked, we had a wall that had a steel plate on it, and it was locked. And inside of that was full. If we ever were under attack, we had to go over and unlock it, and then we would take weapons out of there. And that's the one I wanted. And there's another deuce and a half. That's more like deuce and a third. But here's a parking place for one of those places you go and can buy anything, and you can see the different people walking around. They like umbrellas over there. The women really liked umbrellas. Again, notice the bunker there. It's got all those sandbags in it. Okay. And again, this is another one of the places. Cigarettes was a big item that they would sell over there. The Vietnamese were just like chain smokers. They really loved American cigarettes. And so I was walking down the street, and that was the place that she was selling there. And she wanted me to take her picture. If they pose like that, the little girl was not happy, but she let me take her picture. Another showing the smog across Saigon. That's broken glass on top of that wall there. They would take Coke bottles and break them and embed them up there to keep the people from coming over, and then above it they stuck barbed wire. That's Constantine wire, by the way. And here's one of the alleys that at night they shut it, and everybody down the alley there, they had to be in there. They didn't open it up. That was it. This is beer can houses. And you can see where they flattened them out. They just put them on there, just anything to turn the rain. They just loved to go where the GIs drink a lot. Boy, they'd just make a raid on that place the next day. And here's another shot of showing you the wire that they had over there. That stuff would get a hold of you. We would probably say it's that gaucho wire, and it's a little heavier. Man, it could tear you to pieces. Another one right across the street. This is a bar. There was these bars on both sides of the streets there from our hotel for the GIs. They'd get paid, and I'll tell you what, it was I used to have a roommate that he'd hit them, and we had to be back in our rooms by 10:30 or 10. I can't remember now which. And I used to go get him out of the bars to bring him back. And I'd make a little chain because I'd get some of the buddies. They'd want me to bring them back. And so I'd get them all with their hands on their shoulder and lead them back to the hotel and witness to them on the way back. That was the deal. I had to witness to them or I wouldn't bring them back. And here's the traffic. This is during a rush hour, but there's that great big hole, if you see it in the ground. Well, it was fun to stand around out in front of the hotel because every now and then you'd get one of those motorbikes that'd get in it, and boy, we'd have a big wreck. And for entertainment, that's what we did. Here's where you have your sickolos, and you've got the guy up there's working on his. They were mechanics. I think every one of them could put them together. And there is a statue. I didn't see that. That's dedicated to the Americans, or it's actually the South Vietnamese, but we didn't mess with that. Again, this is a shot down the street there where they've got all these, and I have no ideas. I never could read the Vietnamese. And again, another shot of streets there. And here's the one that really intrigued me. I was out walking one day, And I come up on this, and the barbed wire is stuck on the outside. But there's places it looks like it's been ripped down. And so I go back after I have it in slide form. And so I asked one of the Vietnamese girls, I said, what's the deal? And they said, it's a real rich guy, and he's got this, and said he's probably had somebody tried to break in and they ripped it down. And so I don't know. It intrigued me. And here's this is over on the north side of Saigon, out kind of in the boondocks. And this is those beer can houses and Coke houses and you name it, they've got it out there. Another shot of down the streets there where they sell things. You can see where they've got their little pieces of wood, and they've got their little house there and their flags. And how nasty! And this is nasty. You could smell this place before you got there. You can, again, you bought everything down through there. Another shot. You see that out to the right there, sitting on that beer or that wine bottle, sitting on the stool. That's Texaco. That is gas. And they sell it by bottle like that. But that's where you get close to running out of gas, then you go up there and you start dickering with them about how much they want for it. That's what I said. 500 piastres or 100 piastres in your shirt pocket is what you always carried. This is Sergeant Parks. We are entering a Buddhist temple, and this will just show you they are so skilled over there. He was my first sergeant. Again, another shot of some of the streets there, and if there's something in it. It just intrigued me that the little kid riding the bicycle and you got the guy trying to run over him. They followed all the way through there. This is one of the hotels where this is where I stayed. You see the 50-gallon, 100-gallon drums there, they're full of concrete. And where that little thing up there is, that's where Papa's son sat. And the guy who just stopped there with his Jeep, Papa's son's going to give him about 2 minutes, and he's going to blow the whistle. And so they know that he'll start shooting with that salt if they don't get out of there. And here we're going across the bridge, and these people, I don't think you can see any of the kids that's under it. There's a bunch of kids under it, and if a GI walks across there, they'll yell at you, throw money, throw money. They've got a logging business. I found this down there. They float them down and put them in there. And there we go again, back to that modern convenience. Here they are cleaning up. This is clean now. They're getting ready for the next time they come in. There'll be some people come through, and Mama's sons will come through with a broom and sweep a lot of this up and take it off. And there I am standing there. This is the way I looked back when I was in Vietnam. We're throwing money in. And now the kids will dive in. This is Ko Phuc and Min Tu. These are the two translators that worked in our translating department. And one of them was married and lived with 12 of her people. The other one come from the Central Highlands. And she come down with the idea she might get a job in Saigon, and she was hired to be in our translating office. And I think she was 18 or 19 years old and well educated. She was sharp as a tack. And here we are. Remember I told you about the place that they had where the mama son had to go out and pull all the dirt or the grass up? Well, there it is. There's where the mines were set, and they had the little tombstones out there. And notice how your sickolos are all backed up. You'd walk up there, and the first one jump up, and you go GI, you go GI, and we'd say, well, I'd like to go to MacV, which is quite a little distance. That's up to the airport. And he'd say, 1,000 piastres. I've got 100. Do it. And off we'd go. There are some of the boys swimming down there in that muddy water, and they go down and get all the money that you'll throw in. And they'll dig around down there till they find everything. There was this tree that it was growing bananas. And so I'd drive up with, when I was driving, I would put our truck under it, and I'd get up there and test those bananas, seeing how ripe they were getting. And just about when they were getting ripe enough to pick, I come in that night, had my big long knife, that I was going to cut those down and take them, and I'll be doggone, they beat me to it. And they harvested them. This is a little famous place there that, like a nightclub or other things. This is from the, I think the third floor of my hotel. I'd walked over to the end, one of my buddy's rooms, and this is what we saw. And here we are, we're eating at McDonald's, and notice they'll eat their little bowls, and they'll take them up there, and I'm thinking how nasty. No wonder there was so many of the kids that die. They just don't live long. There again is another shot of their transportation. The GIs used to jump on those little motorized things on the back of it and tip it up in the air and hear old Papa's son yell at them. This is a place where they've got they sell cloth, and they've made things out of it, laid them out on the road. And if you don't watch them, they'll just go across the road. So what I would do when I would go through there driving, I would hit that gas when it was in the clutch, and make them get out of the way. They'd have to scramble out of the way, or otherwise they just you got to stop, and then they've got you. And this is one of the gas stations. Very, very few of them there. But I want you to look at the old car in the background. They keep those things running. It just amazes me. And here's some of the other cars that probably Americans own, because they're a lot later models. An old taxi. Give you another shot of the sawmill. This is one of the roads that they had some disturbances, is the way the Vietnamese would like to tell me about. So they had the wire there because they had a big fight. They had a blow up here. They got hit by a rocket. And another shot of the place they had where they stayed. This intrigued me here. They're Buddhist. They have a statue of Buddhist all over the place. You've got Buddha for everything. But this is more of a Christian theme. It was not a Buddha. It was, and this particular business displaying that out front like that. That's the first time. That's the only one I ever saw while I was over there. Here's one of the places, the temples there. That's got the curve, the Chinese influence. They say they're descendants. All the Chinese and the Vietnamese and the Thailanders and all of them are descendants of the same group. So that was one of the pistols. I'd love to have got a hold of one of those. They were given to the officers and especially the Vietnamese officers, and so they like to sell them at a high price. This is one of our boats that's out on. It's run by the Arvins, the South Vietnamese, and when they come up like that, these kids just flock there. It's everybody wants to join the Vietnamese Army and be on one of these PT boats, and of course they get shot at pretty regularly too. This again is another shot across the city there. This is a temple that they're rebuilding, and this is out at the front gate. And this is one of them that was destroyed in the Tet Offensive, and they're rebuilding it. Again, this goes into one of the temples, and you can see the Chinese influence. This is inside of the temple. Now we're getting inside. This particular temple is what we call one of the older temples, and they have on the side over here on the right side. Those are facilitators, is what today we would call them. And you go in there and you said, "I'm having bad dreams," and they would help you go through what you needed to do for your bad dreams. And then you could go on around into the area, and above it you could see these are month's incense. They burn for 1 month. And Buddha is stuck up in there. If you're on this left side, he's got 2 brass pots in front of him, and that's where you put your incense that you could buy in there to get Buddha's attention. Now, as you're walking through this, there's this drum. Every heartbeat, this thing sounds. And I'm thinking, you got to be kidding me, because I'm ready to run here. This drum, it's loud. And that is to get the attention of Buddha. If you don't get a Buddha's attention, he won't listen to you. So they play the drum, or they hit that drum about every heartbeat. Outside of one of the temples here, look at they're repainting this one. But the artwork out there just blows me away. You know, we look upon the Vietnamese and say, they can't do anything. Well, they can. This is around the harbor down there again, and it's another shot down through there. And this is the bottom part of where they were building that scaffolding and everything at the temple. This, of course, is one of the richer homes. There's the Rockefeller place, you know. While I was in Vietnam, we were allowed certain times that we could take R&R, and you could go to Thailand, you could go to Japan, or different places, or you could go to Hawaii. And so I chose to go to Hawaii and spend, they say a week, but it's you fly over one day and you fly back another day, and then you have a day that you basically is in transit. And so they would allow my wife to come with me, Nan, and the Army actually would fly me for nothing. I mean, one of their perks they gave us for being in Vietnam. And if I'm right, I think they also would fly you.
Yes, the spouses went also by military pay.
And so she got to come over. They paid her way over. And so this is what we saw and what we did in about 5 days there in Hawaii. Okay, this is the Capitol. Was where that little building we were looking at there. This is the Capitol, and if you'll notice through the trees there, it looks like a pineapple. That was one of the things they tried to impress on us, that everything over there, they try to incorporate a pineapple in it. And look in the background at the lava, the rocks that's out there.
Also, there's water all the way around that building to signify like the island of Hawaii.
We went down to a shopping center one day and found that they were having a dance group that they were going to perform. They had been in this area for quite a while, and so while we were there, they're getting ready to get the dancers up, and you know there's a crowd that's gathering there. There's the dancers. All right, Nan, you talk about the dancers.
They were taking these classes, and so they performed at the mall for us, and it was not there was no pay, and it was fascinating how they can move from the waist down and the top doesn't move. I was fascinated with that.
And the people in the background, that is traditional Peloponnesian music they're playing. They play, the drums are those little kettle-like things that has dimples in them, and it was really something. This is our hotel where we stayed, and this is the swimming pool that was there. Okay, here's another group. They had different groups that would come out and they would dance. Each dance had something to do with their history. And of course, I hadn't studied their history, so I don't know what they were doing, other than they were making boats and they were, with their hands, and they were swimming through the water, and I don't know what all. And if you'll notice, there's one male that's in all of this, and he of course, he would represent the male part of it. We took a tour up into the area. They had free tours, or you could pay a little bit, and they'd take a bus load of us up in there. And these some of the flowers, and I don't remember all the names. It rains up there right after lunch. It seems like it just comes a nice shower. So this is lush, and so you just look at the vegetation up through here as we're going by. And here you can see just the vegetation just blew our minds. Now the guy that was driving the bus and the person that was telling us about it, they would tell us all the name of all these trees and do this, and I'd sit there and kind of blink my eyes and think, okay. This is again around the Capitol there, and just look at the trees. And there was some more of those, trees that moss hanging. This is down at the shipyards there. Remember that?
Vaguely.
Yeah, they're building these they're not speedboats. They have sails, these sailboats, and it's fascinating to see the skill that they had. Small place. There we are back. This is the older group of the dancers. And again, each dance has something to do, and here they come out again. We had a friend. Her husband was in the Navy, and she lived there. And we called her and got in touch with her, and she said she's coming over, and she's going to drive around the island and show us the island. Look at how blue the water is. And this is lava rock that has come out of a volcano, rolled down into the ocean, and then cooled. And then it's now, the waves are coming up. They're very treacherous. They have a lot of undertows here. They told us, don't try to swim here. We're going out to Pearl Harbor now. This is the little boat that we went out, or rode out there, and this is, I didn't realize that Pearl Harbor was as big as it was. It's wide and it's very deep out in there, and there's a lot of boat travel out in there, but around the edge, there's not a lot of houses. It's pretty well, there's just not a lot of people there, but we're on our way out to the Arizona. Here's a good one. Remember, that's that king and queen?
Yes.
And I forget, I used to know his name, but this is the king and queen that they had there that everybody thought so much of. And they have made a big museum out of that. Beautiful place, highly decorated. But that's their chairs they sit in when they would hold court or talk to people or dignitaries, and boy, they were proud of this place. And there's the dancers again. Mountainside. This is lava, and it's been there so long that there is some growth that's starting to come on it. Just look how rugged it is. By the way, you could try, we stopped on the side of the road on a place where that it was just slick as glass. It just looked like black glass. And so I went over and just touched it, and it is so sharp, if you move, if there's a little sliver, it's just like a razor blade. It just cuts you to pieces. This is our flight. It's my flight out. As we're leaving Hawaii here, I took a flight out the window there of my airplane. You can't see a lot, but that'll show you kind of the water that just surrounds this place. And they're building. Every time you turn around when we were there, they're putting up another building. It's a big high-rise, and it's for hotels. Okay, we're on our way out to the Arizona now, and if you notice, there's some buoys out in the water, and each one of those buoys, the way they've got them set there, that's where one of the ships blew up when the Japanese flew over. Their name, they've got a number on them, but I don't remember. They told us what ships were there. And this is one of the ships that they had in for dry dock. I believe that's what, of course, they wouldn't tell you anything about them because that particular ship was, it's a warship. And there you see a submarines. This is where they've got the submarines, and they've got them up there and they're working on them. And I thought it was unique because, boy, there's a lot of it stick up out of the water. And here's another. This I think they said was a destroyer. I'm not sure again. And there's a closer shot of one of the submarines that they've got there. And they were working on it. And another one of the big ships that they had in there. And there again, another shot of where they're got the cranes and they're building.
In Honolulu.
Yeah. And this is kind of one of the service ships, they told us. But look on the deck of that thing, look at that gun up there. They told us that it's now automatically shot from a computer. Oh, University of Honolulu. This is outside behind their main building there, and this is those koya fish.
Koi.
And it's got they're beautiful. I just never realized that there's so many different colors, but this little group, somebody had thrown up something, a piece of bread or something in there, and here they come. But it's completely surrounded with these fish. That's Fort LaRussa. That's yes. Where the Americans had a fort there, and there's where we had to report. We flew in, they took us there and released us, and then we went back there when I flew out, and then they took us back to the airport and put us on our flight. But
that's where we met our spouses when they arrived.
And here we are going out too, and this particular boat is coming in. They don't get too close to those boats. They keep a safe distance. And if you'll notice up on the bank there, looks like there's some stuff up there. There again, that was a place that got bombed. And there's one of those radar-guided ships. I'm thinking you got to be, and this is the anchor for the Arizona. They brought it up and have put it out in front, just show you how big that ship was. Okay, we're going across the island now, and we're looking from the road down this valley. And that's some of the trees they have there. They're real short. They're not very big. And this is isn't it the Arizona area? As we're getting ready, I think they had this was the little landing-like place out there that we could get. And there's another shot of one of our ships that was tied up there at Pearl Harbor. We're going down the road, look at the clouds rolling in. There's places there, I do believe, didn't Nancy say every day it rained out there? This is the shipyard, of course, as you're going in to the Arizona, and you see where they've got stuff where you cannot get up in. They've blocked it off. And we're driving now and just show you some of the modern buildings back then. Of course, now everybody laugh at the cars there. And I was shaking when I went down the road. And here you see up on the mountainsides where you've got your lava flows, and then the people build down in the valley. And somewhere around here there's a big pineapple plantation. There's Kamehameha, isn't it?
Yes, that's
the king.
Was that the king on those two chairs?
Yes, Kamehameha.
Yes.
And notice the guy standing down there close to the ocean, and look how blue that ocean is. And here, boy, this is what a lot of the island is right here. It's just rock, and boy, that stuff is slick. It gets wet. It's slick as all get out. And again, another shot as we're leaving, and notice how the island is surrounded by water. Okay, Nan.
This is a cemetery up in the top of a volcano.
And during the war, there's caves around up here, and they brought their anti-aircraft or whatever, their big guns out of there. But when they would get the bombers coming over, when they had an air raid, they would pull those big guns back in there so they would not get destroyed. And there's a nice picture of a new hotel they've built there. Oh, look at that. How did you see those race cars there, Chester? Look at that. Man, you could rent those things. Take them around the island at 90 miles an hour. Okay, we're on our way out to the Arizona, and this is like a little gas station out in the water for boats that need gas.
Arizona is in Pearl Harbor.
Yeah, in Pearl Harbor. What did I say?
Just Arizona.
Okay. That's Vietnam. Okay, this is on our way across the island. You can drive around the island, what did Nancy say, about 2 hours. You can drive around, and this is just one of the places, I believe, that the road guard there is in the way, but I believe this was where some people were swimming. There's a beach down there.
You can see the highway off to the left.
This is overlooking Honolulu. What we've done is we're standing on the lip of that volcano looking down. And if you see back in the back, there's a plane coming in to land there. It's a very unique airport they've got there. You land on it, you come in from the ocean, and as soon as you get in off the ocean, you hit down. When you take off, we are loaded. The Army one that I took out of there, it was loaded, and what it didn't have in bodies, it had in letters and stuff going to Vietnam. We ran the full length of that thing. The pilot had said, don't worry, when we get here, said we'll be in the air. We ran off the end of it and kind of dipped down, and I'm thinking, oh, where's the life vest? We're going to hit. And then he kind of kept on until we climbed about 5 miles out over the ocean. We were climbing then, and it is scary. There's a good shot of the ocean. Now, the picture doesn't do good. It looks, what is that color now? Purple?
Yes, it looks much darker, but it's a light turquoise, beautiful. I've never seen any pictures to do it justice.
And there's another shot of Honolulu. And we're going further. We're getting closer to the Arizona. I think they call that blowhole, I believe is what they did. What happened, there's a hole that's in the side of the, when it dried, and when the water comes in and got high waves, it will shoot through that hole and blow up in the air like that. And there's 2 people down there that's going to go out there where that hole is, and they've got a big sign that said, don't go out there because it could knock you off into the ocean, and there's just nothing but rocks under it. There's a shot again. That's Rabbit Island.
Yes, Rabbit Island.
And then it looks like an alligator snout there on that right side of it. But it's a very famous island. Don't know all the things that went on out there, but everybody's got to go see Rabbit Island. This is one of the parking places up in the crater there, wasn't it? And you could park there and then walk over and take pictures down in the city of... It's really crowded down in there. And we're looking at another... the water is coming in, the breakers. I'm flying out. This is one of the hillsides, by the way, that when we were up on the crater there, up one side of it there, you can see where that the green has finally taken over. And then if you get right up here on the right-hand side at the bottom, you can still yet see where the crater was, where it had cooled. And you notice here, boy, this was a rough place here. They said there's a lot of people that get in trouble here. They want to surf. Look at the different layers of when the lava flowed down. When it cooled, you can see the layers there. Again, you know, by being a little geology, I like to see that stuff. There's a long distance of blowhole. The mountains, Vietnam. This is one of the sprawling cities, and look how they're building. They're working the dirt over down there, and there's the beach. They've got a beach down there, and I believe Nancy said that they're going to have housing in there. That's Vietnam. That's in the distance as I'm leaving. And we're getting closer to the Arizona, Vietnam. And that's down one of the fields, and that is a pineapple field. They've got pineapples down in there. And that's a closer shot of one of the submarines that's there. And there's Kamehameha again, his statue. Apparently they liked him because they have things all over the place with him.
That's
and
Rabbit Island.
There's Rabbit Island.
We were wrong about that other one. That is Rabbit Island.
Okay.
Looks like the head of a rabbit with its ears pulled back behind him.
Well, you can wipe the other one out. That's Alligator Island. And there's that's a volcano that can become very active. They tell us. And there's Kamehameha around his tomb, or his palace there that he had built. And there again, you see and there's somebody going down there. You can see him down there on it, walking out. People are crazy. And there's another shot of one of the peaks there that last volcano eruption. And again, we're looking at the ocean. And there's another one of the big ships that they'd come in. And there's a boat. We're on that's our boat that we're on. One like it. And so you can tell what we're on. A distance shot. This is a beach now. Didn't they say that this particular beach here is where they have some of the competition for surfing?
I don't recall.
Well, they say, boy, they can have some waves coming in from there. And again, that's another shot of that lava flows. And now it's a closer. This intrigued me here because look at how the lava, when it solidified, it has pockets in it. And each one of those pockets, when it comes out, they leave cave-like things in there. They get gas or bubbles in there is what I believe is what they call them, bubbles. And
now that is the Arizona monument. They built it over the ship, across one side to the other, not from end to end, but one side to the other. And that's our first sighting of it, isn't it?
Yeah. And there's another shot of another one of the wharfs they've got out there. And we're back into the garden, and these are some of the people that's walking around. We got out and walked some through this garden, which didn't thrill me too much, but
I enjoyed it. And
here's some of the people, the tourists they have there trying to look native. There's another part of this is a road through the mountain. They couldn't go up over it. And so what they did is they just tunneled through it. And I forgot how long it was, but it was quite a feat.